Hello, and welcome to Voices from the Field, a Mayford podcast where we talk with educators in the field to hear about their perspectives and experiences. My name is Jake Burson, Advocacy Chair for Mayford, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Melanie Levenberg. Melanie
Hey Jake, how's
Levenberg,
it going?
good, how are you? No,
I'm so good, so excited to be here.
great to have you on. I'm just going to give a little bit of intro about you. So Melanie Levenberg has a master's in education, is a physical education teacher, international speaker, author, TEDx presenter, and the CEO, founder of Play International. She was also named CanFit Pro's Fitness Professional of 2022. Her company, Play, provides pre-choreographed programs to schools and teaches fitness enthusiasts how to launch their own businesses working as an external service provider to schools. Her programs have reached over 4.1 million kids in 13 countries, and her award-winning curriculum-based dance program, Dance Play, has been taught in over 700 schools worldwide. Welcome, Melanie.
Thank you so much. It's so pumped. What a great intro. Every time I hear it, I'm like, what?
You've done a lot, Melanie. It's so exciting to be in this space with you. Thank you so much for saying yes to the podcast. Before we get started, what's making you smile these days?
Oh, it's summertime right now, and I live in the mountains, and I get to go out on these beautiful blue lakes in the mountains and paddleboard
Oh,
with my
wow.
dog and my daughter. It's just magnificent, just quiet, no music, just kind of being there with the water and the earth and the sky, and it's just so powerful.
Being with nature, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
So, Melanie, tell us more about who you are and how you started your education journey.
Well, I've always been an active person. I always loved movement, and I always just love like enjoying life. And so I'm like, I feel like if you have those qualities, one of the most top jobs to have is to become a phys ed teacher. And that really was what I always wanted to be when I was a child. To me, the thought of teaching kids and moving my body every day and helping other people, get to know themselves better and connect with each other and play essentially. It was like the best, the best. So I went to school for kinesiology, which is like health sciences in Canada, and yeah, I became a physical education teacher. And it, it, yeah, I still, even to this day, I'm like, like we get paid to do this. Like this is so much fun. I can't believe that this job exists on planet Earth.
That's fantastic. So, can you tell me a little bit more about your work and research with the CSH model in relation to academic achievement? And the CSH model is a comprehensive school health, right?
Definitely. So, my teaching journey took me on an interesting path that not many teachers have experienced. So, I left the classroom to work in a public health sector. And from there, I started working with nonprofit agencies who promoted healthy living and active living and also advocated on behalf of physical education teachers. And unfortunately, and I'm sure many listeners can understand, we have to validate why it's important to have physical education in schools and why movement is important. And it's really sad that this isn't like an of course. And so one of the research models that was out there was this comprehensive school health model. And in Canada, we had an agency that had gone into schools and worked through this public funded, like through public funding. And I can't remember the exact number, but I think it was 16 school sites decided to make the comprehensive school health model one of their main school improvement initiatives. So
Hmm.
instead of any other school improvement initiative out there, they decided to focus on children's health and physical activity. And so they researched this project and they got all this amazing feedback and published the research findings, but they had never linked it to academic achievement. And so I came into this non-for-profit agency and I had looked at it and I was like, hey, have we ever looked at the impact that when a school focuses on movement and health and physical education, like what actually happens to standardized test scores, which unfortunately, again, we have to validate ourselves. If it's not affecting test scores, why are we doing it? Which I'm being sarcastic here, because obviously what we do
I get it.
has so much more to do than improving grades. So what I did is I did this in my master's. I did this kind of independent study looking at the trajectory of the school sites before this health initiative was implemented, and then the standardized test scores the years after they had started to focus on health, and there was a significant change in student test score. And so it was an observation. It was a piece of data, but it was an interesting piece of data that showed that wow, when we focus on the school as a hub, on movement being part of everyday life and health being valued in a school, that there is something transforms, and that transformation also affects their scores. It's not, that we're not doing it for that, but that there is this piece to it. So it was an interesting part of my journey along the way.
That's really interesting. Just the impact that this CSH had and the research you did to really see what impact it had. Like you said, it's not just about the scores. It's just it's a byproduct, but it's amazing, that you were able to do all this and have this impact. So what inspired you to pursue a career in your field?
I think that it was always that movement made me happy. And it's interesting because like as we get older, we're like back in the day when I was a child, like did I have a sense that the world was disconnected as much as I now have a sense of how the world is disconnected? Like we can all say, oh, back in the day there wasn't this much technology and we were all more connected. Whether or not I knew that consciously, there was a part of me that knew that movement made me happy and it made other people happy. And it was some of the most joyful, connected moments of my life. And I just wanted to share that with others. So that really was like the desire to share that and to have other people feel the power of community and movement and play and sports.
Great. So you wanted to share what you were feeling and what you were experiencing in essence. That's
Absolutely.
that's great. So on your website, it states that you have made an impact in over 13 countries and have had over 1,200 instructors trained. Can you tell us more about that process or how that came to be?
For sure. Well, so my story is that I was a physical education teacher that was actually terrified of teaching dance. Like, it's not because I grew up dancing. I grew up playing sports, and I was hit in the head by a lacrosse ball, had a brain injury, and I was told that I could never play contact sports again. And it really shook my identity. I was like, well, who am I if I'm not an athlete? And that's what allowed me to go into the fitness industry and to start learning how can I bring movement into my life if it's not going to be through athletic training and sports and achievement and winning. And I discovered aerobics and I discovered dance, but I was still teaching and working with teachers. And I was like, well, dance is really complicated. So can we make this simpler? So I started, working with teachers and sharing these ideas on how to make dance more simple so that students can experience the embodiment of dance versus the cognitive side of dance. I want them to feel good, like not worry about the steps or left foot, right foot, like get them out of their heads and get them into their bodies. And that became a methodology. People were like, can you teach me how to do what you do? So I started running workshops on the weekend. And I would run workshops and teach teachers how to do what I do. And they're like, can you just give us the resources? Can you just create the dances for us? And so I started packaging dances that were pre-made and giving it to teachers, and eventually that I kind of like stumbled my way into entrepreneurship. And so through that method I created a certification program so that people could go through these online modules, and back in the day it was this in-person training, and so they could develop the skills that I had learned through fitness instructing and also through being a physical education teacher, so that anyone, if they were a teacher or not, they could learn the skills to lead children in movement. And so I created this online course. And then I also taught people how to take these programs and actually launch a business doing this. So some teachers were doing this as after school offers, where they would host these dance clubs, or they would just like go to the community center and host dance classes. And for others, it's people who are fitness enthusiasts who don't work in schools. They learn how to do what I do, and then they go to the school and they teach the dance unit on behalf of PE teachers. So it's kind of like I work with teachers in the schools, and then I also work with people outside of schools to help them bring dance into schools. And so yeah, I developed this training system. And so we've trained more than 1,200 instructors, and there's been programs in schools in 13 countries. But now that the internet's around, like, I mean, we can see where our online resources reach, and it's many more countries than that, but actually in physically happening, over 700 schools in 13 countries.
That's fantastic. It sounds like there's a lot of flexibility with this program and this model you developed. Like you said, you can go in after school, before school, you're training teachers, you can do the training virtually, and these modules are on that website, Play, Dance Play.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
Perfect.
if you go to danceplay.com, then you'll find your way to our online courses and certifications.
So thank you for sharing that, Melanie. I was curious, can you tell listeners about the play philosophy and why there is a number three in the business name Play? What does the three mean?
Totally. So we always say play. People kind of stumble along play because it's spelled P-L, the number three, and the letter Y.
Hmm.
And the reason for that is because in all of our classes, the philosophy that I teach is that every child has to follow 3 rules. And this is how we introduce all of our classes. And the first rule is you have to be positive. And so that, we teach kids, if you've come into the room and you're thinking, oh, it's dance, I'm not good at dancing, or many people are like, have this vision where everyone's going to be moving in one direction, like left, and then they're going to be going right, and it's going to be really, embarrassing. And so we just kind of like address that and say, like, all we're asking you to do right now, the rule is be positive. So that just means changing any thought in your head that thinks I can't do it or this is too hard, to say, you know what, just switch it to, I'll give it a try, or switch I can't to I can,
Mhm.
or even better, switch I can't do it to, you know what, I am awesome, and just practicing talking to yourself from that place. And when you come at it from that mindset, so many more things are possible when it comes to learning and connecting with others and moving.
I love that. I
Uh,
like that.
yeah,
Staying positive, and that really sets the stage too, psychologically
definitely.
for them getting moving. Because sometimes
Exactly.
you go into a space and you're like, oh, I'm gonna think of this experience as something that maybe I had in the past, but it's not like that. You're starting from positive mindset, so that's really key. So,
Exactly. And then the second rule, and this is where kids get funny, is I say the second rule is that you're not allowed to have fun. And all the kids are like, oh, what? And say, well, the second rule is you have to be fun. So you get to practice being the most fun version of yourself. And then the third rule is be yourself. So in this class, everyone is going to learn the same move at the same time, but the way that you're doing the dance move should look different than the person who's beside you, because we all have a different body. We've
mhm.
got different thoughts, different opinions, and a different style to share with the world. So, like, don't just come to this class thinking that you got to copy me, because that's a copying class. And the world doesn't need more people copying each other. The world needs more people finding their own style and sharing it with the world. So, be positive, be fun, be yourself. And then that's kind of the context. So, that applies whether we're teaching dance or yoga or fitness. All of our programs have this philosophy. And that's why the number 3, with the 3 rules, is linked in the brand name. And that's the 3.
I love that. It makes a lot of sense. So, what advice would you give to a PE teacher who wanted to teach dance? You kind of just answered this. Maybe use that philosophy, but anything else? I know
Totally.
sometimes dance is a content area where PE teachers shy away from for whatever reason. But
For sure.
you've
Well,
developed
I can
experience.
appreciate it. I can appreciate it, because before I taught the dance the way I teach it, I thought that a dance unit meant that I had to study all these resources, which back in the day before the internet, when I was a teacher before the internet, it's true. Some of you listening might remember those days. You go to the library and get resource videos. And it was like there was 2 kinds. There was like the hip hop dance, like where there was like the person trying to make hip hop cool.
Mhm.
And it was just like they had all these baggy clothes and backwards hats and like all these really cool dance moves. And I was like, well, I can't do that. And then there's also like the leotard lyrical dance jazz teachers, where it's like they had to wear like this all black leotard. And I couldn't picture myself being either one of those things. But mostly I couldn't picture myself remembering all the steps. And that's what the focus was. It was like, oh, if you're going to teach dance, here are all the steps to learn for this dance. Teach the steps, play the music, the
Mhm.
students then will do the dance. And so, my advice to someone wanting to teach dance is just know that your own authentic experience with dance is the most important thing that
Mhm.
you can bring to your students. So, if you're someone who's like, guys, girls, everybody, I'm not a dancer. And we get to do dance, but dance is a really fun way that we can express ourselves. So I'm going to be learning along with you. I'm excited to learn new things. Do any of you have anything? Like, if you're not the dancer, then it's an opportunity to have the ones who feel like they are dancers and want to have something to share to come and share the experience with you.
Mhm.
If you are a dancer, you like following TikTok dances, you can share that. If you have this experience as a dancer, share that. But what I've seen the most beautiful experiences in schools be is when the teacher owns that they can or they can't do it, and it's like and the students love it. Like, something about dance, like, once a teacher, they're like, yeah, my teacher, like, if someone isn't comfortable with dance, the students will know. But then when the teacher owns it and then they like learn a really simple move, the students go wild. And are we here to like teach kids how to be professional dancers? No. But are we here to teach kids to approach a new movement opportunity with an open mindset and with a little bit of fun and joy? Like, isn't that what physical education truly is all about?
Mhm.
So that's the best advice that I can give.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Be your authentic self, and the kids will
Exactly.
see that. The students will see that.
Yeah.
So, Melanie, in your work with stakeholders and other professionals, what are some common questions you get in regards to your program, Dance Play?
Yeah, well, a lot of ways, it's like, how do we work with you to get this access to more kids? And you mentioned it earlier, like our business is very flexible,
Mm,
and it's kind of one of the biggest critiques that we get whenever we work with business coaches. It's so hard being an educator going into business because they're like, what's the business? I'm like, the business is that as many people can get this as possible. So let's build a really fluid, like what are all the ways you can work together? And I've kept it that way. And the business has been like that for 15 years. So that if a YMCA comes in and they're like, we want this in all the YMCAs, we're like, okay, there's an offer for that. Here's a package program that's for corporate groups where we give you the training, we give you the material for everyone. And then you go. There's the individual who's like, hey, I really want to teach dance after school at my kid's studio. Cool. So here's a training for you just individually, and then here's a little business that you can run as an individual. People want to work with schools. A lot of fitness enthusiasts want to work with schools. And some
mhm.
teachers actually are also like, how do you work with schools without working as a school teacher? I want to like leave my teaching job, but I still want to work in schools. And so we also help former teachers learn how to learn our curriculum-based program and then teach them a little bit of business skills so that they can then go back into the classroom or the gymnasium and bring movement to students during school hours, but in a completely different kind of like pay format, essentially. And it's flexible, and it seems like there's a lot of things, but at the end of the day, all roads lead to students experiencing positive physical education experiences that are founded in physical literacy. This isn't just about movement for the sake of movement or dancing for the sake of what the new cool dance is. Everything we do builds fundamental movement skills, has a deep, purposeful connection to interpersonal skills, and also to creative self-expression. And that's the point of what we all do.
Right. There's a purpose behind everything. So
Absolutely.
this question actually isn't on the list, but I want to, because in my research for this interview, I came across the dance phases. Can you just
Yes.
quickly talk about the dance phases? Because I think from everything you're saying, it's really important how you explain these dance phases. Can you just give our listeners a brief overview of what these phases are and how it relates to
Wait,
dance play?
I don't know that I know about the dance phases. Give me a hint here. I know about the elements of
Yeah,
dance.
so you know how there's the TGFU phases,
Yes.
then
Oh,
there's
yes.
the dance, the different. Maybe
Oh
I'm not
yeah,
saying the
no,
right
you
word.
got it right. Oh yeah, no,
Okay,
for sure, totally. Oh yeah, no,
okay,
that's another good question. So
okay.
you're referring to the model teaching dance for understanding
Mm-hmm,
that has six phases, and that's a
hmm
model that I created
hmm
after learning about teaching games for understanding.
Got it.
Because in teaching games for understanding, you go through these six phases to teach students about sports without teaching it sport focus. You teach
Hmm
more about the strategy and the tactics. And so I took that model and I brought it to dance. And so the six phases for that are first starting off bringing dance as a playful experience. So allowing students to experience dance without worrying about the rules. So taking the rules of dance away, taking the left foot, right foot, taking the standing in lines, there's a certain set of choreography and we have to remember a certain sequence, throwing that out the window. And it's like experiencing dance from fun and joy. So once they have a great experience, then we can teach them something about dance. And that goes into the phase, which is dance appreciation.
hmm
So they might be learning about the style of music or the genre of dance and the cultural background behind it, or maybe where this dance move even started from. And this really has a big range now that we have TikTok and the internet. Like students can study like dance movements from viral threads. Like back in the day we were like, well, this is folklore dance and this is the folklore story that it came from. It all fits, and this is a chance for students to basically learn and study a little bit more the cognitive side of dance. And then the third phase is developing connections. So before we teach students how to like package dance and use dance to communicate a message, more like a lot of what the dance methodologies teach start with that, we're going to make sure that they have connections. First, connections to themselves, and they make sure that the students know how to work well with each other, because a lot of dance has group work in it,
hmm
and also make sure that they're connected to the stories and to previous knowledge that they could bring in. So there's these three phases: dance as a playful experience, dance appreciation, and developing connections. And then once the students have those three phases, then we go into the three which are more typical. So creative exploration, it's like they're taking ideas and they're moving their body based on an idea or a sound. A lot of dance programs start there. So like a lot of the resources that I used to read was like, okay, bring all the students into the gym and say, hey, everyone, we're not going to do any choreography. I'm just going to play music and you move however you want.
Mm,
And the issue that I had with that is that that was the equivalent of asking a student who only knew the letters A, B, C to write a paragraph
mm,
about how they feel. Like listening to music, having the confidence and the vocabulary to like move and actually express yourself, like that's hard. It's a hard skill. So those first three stages kind of like set the context for creative exploration. Then once students can create their own moves, then we have them working together and they're refining their skills and they're actually preparing a dance and a dance sequence or a performance of some sort that allows them to communicate something, whether, and these are all directly linked with the curriculum. Each grade level has outcomes and standards that have to do with what students have to be able to communicate through movement and dance. So
mhm.
this is where each grade level has their own criteria. And then the final one is dance performance. So like after all that, then the students get to perform, and because they're performing and they feel super confident, then they're so excited to learn more, and then they go back to the playful dance experience and the cycle continues.
It really makes a lot of sense to have them enjoy the dance and enjoy moving first, as opposed to starting with the exploration or the performance, which is sometimes that was my experience. Here's the dance, you copy it, and you're already performing without having any of this knowledge about where to move, how to move, jump, skip, all these different elements. So that makes a lot of sense. So
Right? It's like in
thank you for,
sports,
yeah,
right? We don't just throw students in like we're playing a basketball game and like you're supposed to know all the rules and like you just
right.
start blowing the whistle being like you're not doing the rule correctly. Like we want to make sure the students are building vocabulary, learning the skills, learning plays, tactics, and then you can apply it to the game. So
Right.
like let's just back it up with dance and simplify it, and most importantly build positive experiences so that students feel confident moving, yeah,
I
beyond the
love that.
classroom.
I love
Yeah.
that. So, as we're coming to a close of the interview, I had a final question. What do you hope to see in the future? What goals do you have? These can either be personal or professional goals.
Beautiful. I love this question. Well, my personal goal is to spend even more time in nature and to deepen my connection with nature through
Mm,
movement. So because I live in the mountains, I live in Whistler in British Columbia. I don't think I mentioned that earlier. Yeah, that's a personal goal for me is to deepen my relationship and to trust nature. I think having been an athlete and having been a type A person who was a very successful teacher, because type A people are really great teachers, a lot of my life, and I'm 44 now, a lot of my life was lived in my head, like doing the things, trying to get everything right, and, just like setting a plan and going and getting it. And as I'm now living more in nature, there's a really deep intelligence around me that I'm learning to trust. Like you can't rush nature. We
mhm.
planted a seed a few months ago with my daughter. She came home with these like sunflower seeds, and I can't look at the seed being like, grow faster. It's just like it takes time for something
Right.
beautiful to emerge. And so learning to kind of like trust that a little bit more and bringing that to my life is a personal goal that I have. And then a professional goal is just to continue serving as much as I can and bringing programs and bringing services and helping people, whether it's physical education teachers, fitness enthusiasts, whoever it is that wants to get kids moving and who really believe in the passion, passionately that movement will heal children and movement will expand children, movement will bring joy to children's lives. And if people are called to doing that kind of work and they feel like I can support them in some way, then I'm just going to let source whoever bring me to them and to keep supporting that mission.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. You definitely inspired me, and I'm sure you've inspired our listeners as well. So I really appreciate that. So,
Thank you
Melanie,
so
how
much.
can our listeners connect with you? Are you on what type of social media you're on? And then whatever you say, I can also link to the show notes if you have any resources you want to share.
Beautiful. Well, I'm no longer on any of like the Twitter. Like I feel like Twitter disappeared. I was like big on Twitter. So now I'm on Instagram and
Okay.
people can find me. And I'll send you the link. It's Dance Play or Play Fitness are my handles. And I also have my website, danceplay.com. And through there, I run the company myself, as much as we have a really broad reach. I answer the emails. So you can always just send an email to me, and it is me. And I will invite your listeners and anyone who might have any further questions. This is the beginning of a conversation, and I love when people message me like, "Hey, I listened to, on this podcast, and I've got this question. What would you recommend?" I will answer those emails happily and point you to resources. Lots of things on YouTube. What do you think about this? What's a song? I've got lots of ideas, and I love when teachers reach out if it helps them feel supported in what they do.
That's fantastic. We appreciate that. And you have a ton of resources on your website too. I've actually taken a couple myself. You have some ones that talk about assessment and talk about physical literacy. So those are great. So I encourage the listeners to check out the website. So thank you so much, Melanie, for sharing your experience and expertise with us. It's really been great. Listeners, if you have any questions, you can always email us at mayfordpodcast@gmail.com. We will have this episode uploaded soon. Also, please rate and review the show as it does help other folks find it. Thank you all for listening. Have a great week, and we will be back soon. Take care, Melanie. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Jake. You are awesome.
Thank you.